All right, good morning. Welcome. We're officially getting started. Sorry, we had a little technical difficulty getting everything online, but we are officially starting. I am Jon Ahmann. I'm president and CEO of the Westside Future Fund. Welcome. Yay, thank you, Neil. Always good to have a shout out. But for those that are here for the first time, so everyone's kind of self-aware about it, we are broadcasting live. So we're up on YouTube and a couple of our other social media channels. So you can see the cameras. I am great to have this morning. It's my co-host, our Chief Development Officer, Jon Ingram. Thank you for being here, Jon.
Everyone? Good morning. Good morning. Yeah, whether you're joining virtually or in person, we're just so thankful for your engagement and your focus on these Westside communities and really just continuing to support us in this work. So we're really excited about getting this program started today. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, no, a big morning. We want to first start with gratitude for our sponsor this morning, the Arthur and Blank Family Foundation. Raise the hand so we can thank the sponsoring our summit this morning. Thank you. As always, we're grateful for our Chick-fil-A breakfast, so let's give it up for Chick-fil-A too. Thank you. So yeah, it's an exciting day because we're going to kind of update on the work of the Westside Future Fund. We're very excited about that too. Our vision, how do we help build a community Dr. King we brought to go home, reflecting that he did call this community home. You know, his last home being in Vine City on Sunset. But I always like to start with giving a welcome to our new guests. So anyone here for Transform Westside Summit first time, please raise your hand. All right, thank you for being here. Always want to welcome. So just to quickly go through what's going to happen this morning, we're going to have a devotion from Tameka Bell in just a few moments. She's Director of Special Projects at Ebenezer Baptist Church and one of our Home on the West Side Homebuyers. So we're excited about our devotion. After the devotion, for those that often come, you know, we've in the past done self-introductions. What we're really excited about is we've had more and more people coming to our summits, which compress our clock in terms of being able to have enough time to do the self. So we're going to do like a 5-minute fellowship check-in because we had 150 people RSVP for this summit. So we were just trying to be mindful about that. And then we're going to have a panel discussion I'm going to host with our team to give you an update on all the progress of the Westside Future Fund. Yeah,
and what Jon outlined in that panel discussion is really a testimony of the work that we had throughout this year. Real people, real family, real progress within the community. And so as we move through the morning, I encourage you to lean in, to listen, and really engage with the impact stories that myself and my colleagues speak about on stage, because it really is a testament to the work of many in this room, but thousands of people across the city. So we're really excited about that conversation this morning.
And we want to remind you, I don't know if it come up, but our monthly newsletter. So we have a monthly newsletter. You can subscribe by the QR code. And we want to make sure we're getting updates not only on behalf of our work, but the kind of the work of the Historic West Side. So if you have things you want us to post and get out there through our e-newsletter as well as our social media channels, please let us know. Yes. Yeah. There it is. Thank you.
Yeah, and also engage with us on social medias. Please, please, please like and follow everything that you see. All of our socials listed up on the screen right now. We would love for your engagement and for you to share these videos that end up being posted, these pictures, and let people know what's happening, because the more people we bring to the table and bring into the room, obviously the more impact that we can have. So we are really excited about it. Lastly, of course, don't forget your raffle tickets. If you didn't get one while you were coming in, please make sure to go back to registration, and I'll give you a raffle ticket for both of our raffles, a Home Depot gift card and the Goodwill raffle ticket as well, which we'll do at the end of the program. So it's become our tradition to begin our meetings with a positive, inspirational message from a member of the community, recognizing that many in our community are driven by their spiritual faith to participate in the Westside revitalization effort. The time at the beginning of our meetings is an opportunity to share various inspirational reflections. And while the speakers may articulate their own personal faith, it's meant to be inclusive, inspiring, and meaningful, with the story of Nehemiah as our guide. To open our time together, we are really grateful to welcome and be led in our devotion by Tameka Bell. As Jon said, she's the Director of Special Projects at Ebenezer Baptist Church here in Atlanta, and nationally recognized as a leader at the intersection of faith, storytelling, and justice. With more than 20 years of experience in this work, she has supported grassroots leaders and faith communities across the country in strengthening their voice and impact. We're also proud to call her a Westside Future Fund family, a member as a Home on the Westside Homebuyer, who continues to give back through outreach with the AUC Center in partnership with Ebenezer. So please join me in welcoming Tameka to the stage.
Thank you. All right. Good morning. So I bought my home in 2023 with the help of On the Rise and Home on the West Side. And for me, that purchase wasn't just an investment in property. It was an investment in possibility, an investment in belonging, and an investment in the future. Next door to me is another Home on the West Side homeowner. Across the street is a legacy resident who's been there for more than 40 years. And beside her is a local builder and developer. 4 homes, 4 stories, 4 very different journeys. We call ourselves the Quad. We are as diverse as can be, different backgrounds, different generations, different life experiences, yet we are neighbors. And neighbors not just in proximity, but neighbors in practice. We look out for one another, we celebrate birthdays and milestones, we grieve losses together. We check in, we share meals, we hold packages, and we hold space for one another. And the more I've reflected on this, the more I realize this is what loving your neighbor actually looks like. In the Gospel of Matthew, When Jesus is asked what matters most, the answer is clear. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and you shall love your neighbor as yourself. It doesn't say agree with your neighbor. It doesn't say be identical to your neighbor. It says love your neighbor. And the question that always follows is, well, who is my neighbor? And I'm learning that answer. My neighbor is the one whose family has been here for generations, the one who just moved in, the one who is building, and the one who is preserving. My neighbor is the one whose politics I may not share. And my neighbor is one whose story I am still learning. And love, well, I figured out that it is not sentimental. Love is intentional. It is practical and patient. It is protective. Love is lending a helping hand when someone is sick. It's celebrating when a child graduates. It's bringing in the trash bins when somebody is out of town. And hear me when I say this. Love is about ensuring that development does not erode dignity. Love makes room at the table. Love is not abstract. It lives on our sidewalks. It is practiced across our fences. It is built on our front porches. In a time when communities across the country are fragmented, when we are divided by politics and race, economics, when we are driven by fear, what we are building on the West Side almost feels radical. The quad reminds me that diversity does not have to mean distance. It can mean strength. It can mean balance, and it can mean accountability. It also can mean shared responsibility. And here is what I have come to understand. When we love our neighbors well, when we really love our neighbors, we stabilize more than property values. We stabilize hope, we stabilize belonging, and we stabilize the soul of a community. The Westside Futures Fund helped me to purchase a house, but my neighbors helped me to find a home. So this morning, I offer this reflection. What if loving your neighbor is not a vague moral idea, but a daily civic practice? What if it looks like protecting legacy residents and welcoming new residents? What if loving our neighbors looked like holding developers accountable while holding their contributions, while honoring their contributions? What if it looked like choosing relationships over suspicion, choosing presence over isolation? What if it looked like choosing care over convenience? What if the future of Westside is about building entire blocks that feel like the quad? 4 different stories, 1 shared street, 1 shared responsibility. This is what love looks like in action. And if we can model it here, on this block, in this neighborhood, in this city of Atlanta, Georgia, then perhaps we can offer something larger than housing. Perhaps we can offer a blueprint for the beloved community. Thank you.
Well, I've got a 3-letter word for that, which is wow. That was amazing. That was amazing, and you said a lot of powerful things, and what was amazing about it was grounded in your own story. And so I think when we began the work of the Westside Future Fund, but reflecting the historical voices of the community, the beloved community. And so to your point, you think a lot, what does that really mean? Right? It means you got to be, you got to love. You said belonging, community. Back to the frame, and I live on Sunset in Vine City because I want to be near that home that Dr. King and Carey lived with their family. And I thought more and more to your sermon is one, because you imagine if you're in front of that home, what do you want to say is happening? And certainly one part of the story is the built environment. Yay. The next part of the story is, what are the hearts of the people that are coming or they're already here? And the last thing, I really appreciate what you said, and was a big learn for me with Dr. King's sermons, is distinguishing between the types of love: romantic love, friendship love, and then to love your neighbor as God loves everybody, because he said, I don't like Bull Connor, but I have to love Bull Connor as God does. So let's give it up again and thank you. So those are always awesome. So thank you. So what we want to do next is just take a little bit of time to get to know each other and creating more belonging. And the way we can create more belonging and build this community is by knowing your neighbor next to you today, next to you in your seat. Maybe you already know your neighbor, or maybe you don't know the person behind you. But we'd love to do for the next 5 minutes or so, take a fellowship time and just to say hello to the folks around you, introduce yourself, and back to building this belonging and building this community.
Everyone has enjoyed meeting each other. Please find your seats. Please find your seats. We hope you've enjoyed meeting everyone. Please find your seats so that we can continue programming.
thank you. Thank you for taking the time to introduce yourself to your next door seated neighbor, but we're going to go ahead and get started again with our program. So if everyone could would take a seat, that would be great. So if everyone could just, yes, thank you. Thank you. So raise your hand if you met somebody new. All right, look at that. All right, building. So for the next part of our program, to kind of set the stage a little bit in terms of updating on the work of the Westside Future Fund, and the way we wanted to update you on the work is to bring up folks who, from the team. So I'm going to host a panel in just a moment to go through it, but to ground it. And some of you I know have been with us from the very beginning when the Westside Future Fund was launched just over 10 years ago. And when we started our work, one of the first bodies of work we did, working with the City of Atlanta, was the Westside Land Use Framework Plan. Going back to 2016, 2017. And when we started our work, it's much less true today, but it's very true, is there were a lot of folks had moved out of the neighborhood, so there were a lot of abandoned properties, many of them unfortunately, blighted, et cetera. And we did the land use framework plan, back to our devotion. It was, beside, how the community wanted to manifest, one of the clear things that came back was we know we need people to move back into the neighborhood because, there was a lot of, empty lots, et cetera. But what we don't want to have happen, because when that typically happens, right, prices rise, we don't want to be pushed out, right? And as the city is, very much repopulating and continues to, which is awesome. So that was the grounding of our work to say, when we do this, kind of that restoration without displacement. And so the foundation of the work of the Westside Future Fund, and I say Westside Future Fund a lot, but I always want to acknowledge this is a huge collective effort. So many different organizations, many in this room today. But to really, land that as the neighborhoods bring in new neighbors, but the neighbors that have been here before can remain, and neighbors that may got pushed out want to come back can come back. So we're going to really, drill into that today, because one of the things we heard, and many of the things that have happened in the last 10 years or so, are many new amenities, new parks, new facilities, from job training to financial wellness, et cetera. So a lot of new, back to the built environment. But the space the Westside Future Fund really tried to own, not exclusively, right? We have other partners, is to really this, landing on the restoration without displacement through our, real estate programs. We're going to talk about that today. But to help just ground it, I thought we would share a video that's kind of an overview of our work. And then once the overview is done, I'm going to come back up and I'll introduce folks from the, we're going to bring up Jon, Tameka, and Rachel. And we'll have a little bit of a panel discussion to kind of give you an overview of our work. So we could roll the...
Atlanta's historic West Side has long stood at the crossroads of history and progress, a cradle of culture, education, leadership, and the birthplace of civil rights movements that have shaped our city and our nation. From the family homes of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and Mayor Maynard Jackson Jr. to the campuses of Atlanta's HBCUs. These neighborhoods have nurtured generations of trailblazers and stood as a powerful symbol of resilience, pride, and community.
But over time, these vibrant neighborhoods were left behind. Decades of systemic disinvestment and neglect took their toll. Populations declined, homes were abandoned, schools were under-resourced, and opportunities faded. The people in neighborhoods that gave so much to Atlanta faced deep challenges, and families struggled to stay rooted.
In response, public and private sector partners stepped forward, united in a commitment to supporting the historic West Side's revitalization. In 2014, West Side Future Fund was born, with a mission to restore these historic neighborhoods through compassion, collaboration, and a commitment to the people who call the West Side home.
Our holistic approach focuses on 4 key impact areas: mixed income communities, cradle to career education, community health and wellness, and safety and security. At the heart of it all is Home on the West Side, a program designed to ensure that legacy residents and those with deep ties to these neighborhoods can stay and thrive in the community they've built and loved. This is a collective effort. Working alongside a coalition of public and private sector partners, we've built homes, supported schools, and invested in safe, welcoming spaces for families to gather and grow.
The impact is real and transformative. Today, hundreds of families live securely in high-quality, affordable homes. Legacy residents are protected from displacement. Children are learning in supportive schools, and new parks and gathering spaces are bringing the community back together. While meaningful strides have been made, significant work remains ahead. This is the West Side's next chapter. And it's being written by those who have always been a part of its story. Together, we're transforming the historic West Side into a community Dr. King would be proud to call home.
All right, no, thank you. And I love the aerial because you see how many new amenities, which is just not the Westside Future Fund, but many other organizations, public agencies, and others really lean into the neighborhoods. So far, I'm going to ask our folks to come up. So first, I guess I'll bring up Tameka, who is Director of Tameka Askew, our Director of Home on the West Side. So come on up, Tameka. Yeah, thank you. So please, our Chief Real Estate Officer, Rachel Carey. And then our Chief Development Officer, Jon Ingram. Come on. All right. Thank you. So what we thought we would do to help, give an overview, just kind of have I'll host a conversation. We'll have some time for some question and answer. Bear with us a little bit. We're having a little bit of computer hiccup, so we're trying to make sure things are teed up. But one that to focus on today, back to that restoration without displacement. We have Tameka talking about a home on the West Side, all the many wonderful things we've done as part of our real estate program. And one of the things that I wanted to ask Jon to some of too is when we started with the name Westside Future Fund, many folks rightfully assumed we had a big, we were like a normal foundation which has an endowment and gives away 5% a year. We're not that. So what we have to do constantly is out there raising philanthropic dollars. Many of these donors are represented in this room today. Thank you. But one thing we just want to talk about and give a little bit more transparency to is how we do that and who our donors are and what our plans are. But I think to help ground before we start, Ms. Tameka, do we have the video ready on 846? 646 and 839? Is that going to go?
These 57 new homes that we're celebrating today represent $16.4 million in total investment. And what we're very proud of is $15 million that was entrusted to the Westside Future Fund through philanthropy and our impact fund.
English Avenue has always been a place of strength, rich history, culture, community.
I also want to acknowledge all of our other partners, stakeholders, and board members being involved, from planning to financing to execution. And today is a reflection of our collaborative work.
Atlanta can only become a city of opportunity for all when every neighborhood gets its turn. And so to the community members that are here today, this progress is for you and with you. And our partners and supporters, thank you for standing with English Avenue. I truly, truly appreciate all of you.
And today, we choose community. Thank you.
All right, very exciting. So when we say homes, we mean both home ownership and we also mean rental homes. They're both homes. And when we started our work, and we've been talking a little bit more with Rachel, and buying up a lot of land, one of the questions from the community was, well, how are y'all going to prioritize who goes first? Like, how's that going to work? And, you know, back to the devotion, folks wanted to welcome, you know, new members, of course, but for those that have been connected or living in neighborhoods, is there a way to kind of give them a leg up, so to speak, given, you know, back to the restoration without displacement. So one of the grounding parts of our program we want to spend a minute talking about as part of our Home on the West Side, because this is a very intentional part of it, is our community retention guidelines. So Tameka, maybe you could take a moment to really, you know, walk people through how our community retention guidelines work, so people really understand, and we are obviously especially speaking to folks that might be interested. But yeah, tell them a little about our community retention guidelines.
Okay. Well, our retention guidelines are actually based off live, work, learn. And that means that if you live in the community that we serve, or previously lived in the community, if you work in the community or you previously work in the community, or if the learning aspect goes with the Washington Cluster or the AUC Center. So those are the principles actually that we go off for the retention guidelines.
Yeah, and back to, you know, working, because historically, these neighborhoods supported a lot of folks who worked at the Illinois University Consortium. So any of those, you know, Morehouse, Spelman, Morehouse School of Medicine, Clark Atlanta, all those qualify. So whether you're an alumni, if you work there, all part of our Home on the West Side guidelines. We've already had some success, right? Any teacher in the Booker T. Washington cluster or others qualify as working.
Yes.
So as people think about it, you know, many folk, we've done people working in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So working, people are aware how many things we're touching with that working frame.
Absolutely.
And so tell folks what happens if they say, well, maybe someone here say, oh, wow, I think I qualify. What do they need to do next? What happens?
Next, you would actually fill out the application, and there's a series of questions that are asked. And I always tell people to be very mindful of when you're going through the application to read what the question is actually asking. So once you fill out the application, it actually comes to me, and I go through and I look at it, and we go through a series of verifying. So you have to send in documents, so you just can't fill out the questions and I did this or I lived here. You have to actually show proof of that, because anybody can say, check this and say, hey, yeah, I live there, but I don't really know that. So you have to send in the documents to be verified. So once you're actually verified in the system, either as a renter or a homeowner, I send out a renter's checklist or a home buyer readiness checklist, just to see actually where you are. One of the things I try to tell people, we are not just putting people in home, we're actually setting you up to be successful, right. Even as a renter. So if you're not quite there, we actually partner with Operation Hope. We have a financial coach that's on site. It's called Hope Inside. And so she works, her name is Mercedes, and so she works with people actually getting you prepared and getting you ready.
Thank you. And I think if the other thing, and you can see I was looking behind because the screens in front aren't working for us, so that's why you see us all turn around. But what we wanted to put up is, in the video, we opened up 839 Boone, which is 33 units, and 646 Echo, which is 24 units. And what can get very confusing if you're not deep into the affordable housing space is rent levels are defined as area median income. So Tameka, maybe for folks that don't know, say just a quick word what area median income means.
So area median income, that is based off the income level, and those are actually set by HUD. A lot of people think that we set it, but it's not. So that is a federal, actually, income, or AMI, acronym that's actually set. So our rents are actually based off that, and it's based off the income, or your income levels. Because I think a lot of people think when you say affordable housing, they really just don't know how it's actually set.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll just expand on that for a moment. when we're, planning for a project, we want to, we're creating mixed income communities. And so we want to be able to offer rents at different levels for different, for different income levels and family sizes. So what you're seeing here is how we look at structuring the rents in any given project. So we have rent levels at 30% AMI, and you can see what those rent levels look like for each unit size. At 60% AMI, what those rents look like, and then at 80% AMI. I will say here, that 80% AMI is the highest rent level that we have, but if we actually still charge less than what the true 80% AMI rent is. We're really trying to maintain as affordable rents as we possibly can. So trying to even be less than what that actually is. So these are the actual rents and units at the 2 new properties that we just opened.
No, thank you. And market rate rents, and you can see new market rate units coming up off of North Side. Their market rate rents are already above, where you see 80%. So it's what we thought would happen is happening. And the last thing, this is where we so much appreciate our philanthropic donors. The reason we can offer that discounted rent structure is because of how much philanthropy is in our build. So whether it's we had on these properties, about 40% of the total cost came from philanthropy, 10% came from the Westside TAD, and then the rest came from our low cost loan fund, our investment fund. But it's really that philanthropy along with that public grant that enables, because these aren't dependent upon vouchers to deliver this affordability. They're baked into when Rachel and her team put it together. And so the next thing that we're excited about as well is when people go into our Home on the West Side program, we offer obviously discounted rents, but we also offer the down payment assistance. And you can see another big, when I guess to go. And one of the things we wanted to show you with this slide, I want to take a second is, Rachel, Tameka, how we set the sales price and how the down payment helps get the buyer into that home at 280.
Yeah, sure. So when we are setting a sales price, we're trying to cover our costs to come, get our money back out of the house. As a nonprofit, we're not trying to make profit. We oftentimes even have to price the house a little bit lower than what we actually put into it. But then on top of that, we provide down payment assistance based on a person's income level. Tameka works with them and their lender to figure out what other down payment assistance they might qualify for and how much they might need from us. And that then buys down the price of the home to make it truly affordable and sustainable for that purchaser. So you see here, somebody was able to get $40,000 in down payment from us to really make that $320,000 house be about $280,000. And that's what their monthly payment's gonna be based off of.
Great, no, thank you. And you hit a really important point. We are not for profit, we're a charity. And as Rachel said, our real estate portfolio doesn't recover its full cost of capital and operations. So if we're gonna offer the product, that's why we'll talk more to Jon, the philanthropy becomes important along with public grants and other sources of low-cost financing. And one of the things we're very proud about, making say in a moment, is the Anti-Displacement Tax Fund. We launched it in 2017, knowing as we began our work that prices were going to go up and driving people's taxes up just because the assessments would go up. So we launched the Anti-Displacement Tax Fund in 2017 for legacy homeowners, which then we defined as 2017. But you want to say a quick word about the Anti-Displacement Tax Fund?
Oh, absolutely. So in 2025, we actually had 5 new anti-displacement tax fund participants. I think a lot of people may think that it's easy, but it's not, because you have to go through a lot of red tape actually to make sure that people actually qualify for the anti-displacement tax fund program. But we had 5 new participants. We had a total of 116 that participated in 2025. And we distributed $131,316.01 taxes paid by Westside Future Fund.
1 cent.
And what we're excited about, I see folks from the Beltline Partnership. They have the Beltline Tax Relief Program, which has a similar purpose. And then, I think, Mayor Dickens has expanded even more. So you see more and more. And it's really ensuring, legacy homeowners, as those assessments rise, can remain in their home. And next is going to shift to Rachel, and you're looking at a complicated slide, which Rachel is going to give you an overview of. But we wanted to kind of show you and ground you in our real estate activity and where we're focusing our efforts. So Rachel, you could maybe walk people through what we're looking at.
Sure, happy to. So what you're seeing right here is a map of the Westside Future Fund footprint. So you see English Avenue at the top, Vine City in the middle, Atlanta University Center, where it says Atlanta University Center, and then Askew Heights and Just Us over to the left. And this map really shows a lot of the amenities that some of that earlier video was talking about. You've got the At Promise Center, Boys and Girls Club, the reopened Hollis Innovation Academy, Quest's Impact Center and their work over at Joseph E. Boone and Lowry Families First, Booker T. And so these are kind of all these sort of public amenities and investments in the neighborhoods. When we started acquiring property 8 years ago, we arranged our property acquisitions to be clustered around those areas of public investment. So around Katherine Johnston Park, around Joseph E. Boone Boulevard, around the West Side Beltline Connector Trail, places where we knew there would be a lot of market rate development in the years to come. We wanted to acquire land, assemble property, and be able to build apartments and build and sell homes in the areas where the market rates would be highest so that we could actually carve that out for affordability. So we have our development nodes here that kind of show that. Development Node 2, Katherine Johnston Memorial Park, includes Katherine Johnston Memorial Park. And Development Node 3, Brawley Corridor, is James P. Brawley Drive in English Avenue, actually extending all the way down to Vine City to the AU Center. Those have been our 2 priority nodes. We're closest to finishing those, and those are some of the projects we'll be showing you here.
Great. Thank you. One of my learnings from starting the work is one thing if you go into a neighborhood and a lot of the land is publicly held. So if you go into the neighborhood, different public agencies, because they're in a position to provide the land at a very low cost if they choose. So another thing when you go into a neighborhood and a lot of outside investors own the land. They have their own ideas about what's a fair market price. So we had to buy from a lot of people, the investors that own. We've gotten some land that Invest Atlanta has awarded, but most of everything we've purchased, right, has been.
Yeah, we've spent over $27 million purchasing property over the last 8 years.
And thank you.
A lot.
And so one of it is going to, kind of walk through, Rachel, and, quickly hit. We wanted to show you, and we're very excited about this year as we kind of build momentum, because one is what we've already done, but what we're planning to do in 2026. And so what I'm going to walk through, Rachel, quickly hit it, is what's coming up, what's already online and going to, come online later this year. So first is 390 Sunset.
Yep. So this property, 390 Sunset, is on Sunset Avenue in English Avenue. This is a 26-unit building. It's under construction right now. It'll be completed by April of next year. It's going to have beautiful passive stormwater, green space, walking trails, and environmentally friendly materials. Beautiful property. The Yellow Store, which we saw in one of the videos earlier, Westside Future Fund bought the Yellow Store in 2019. We're finally able to start on the renovation of that. If you go by now, you can see it's missing a roof and a lot of the wood inside. We're basically having to do a complete rebuild of it, and it'll be done by the end of this year. We're super, super excited to bring that 3,500 square feet of retail to life at that corner of English Avenue. Cameron Alexander Boulevard. It's going to be great when it's done. And beautifully historical renovation. It's going to absolutely be stunning.
And one of the things that was really part of the land use framework plan is this is such a historic store, and back to grounding it and serving the community. So for the new homeowners, existing homeowners, how this comes online that provides really a walkable experience for people living in the community.
Okay, here we've got 280 James P. Brawley Drive. So the properties that we just opened up at 839 Boone by Katherine Johnston Park and 646 Echo up by Hollowell were designed for us by the same architecture firm, Kronberg Urbanist and Architects. They do a great job building these 3-story buildings with beautiful porches, really efficient use of space. We've got 18 units of that going in right across from Kennedy Park and Hollis Innovation Academy to really be able to serve the families and teachers who work and go to school there every day. So this property right here is our biggest property in our portfolio. It's North and Oliver. This is a project that we currently have under consideration for an award of low-income housing tax credits and tax-exempt bonds from the state and the city of Atlanta. We very much look forward to getting that award here in just a couple of weeks. For years, we have now been working on this project. It's 3.4 acres. It's 120 units in a range of 30 to 80% AMI. And so when that really comes online near Lindsay Street Park, it's just going to be just truly beautiful and a really beautiful asset for that area of the neighborhood. Another project that we're in permitting for now and we'll be starting later this year is Proctor Payne's. Again, this is right between the Katherine Johnson Memorial Park and Brawley Corridor Node. This is on the side of the New Jerusalem Baptist Church. When they went looking for a new location, they sold that church to us. This is going to be 25 units of rental housing and 5 single-family homes, plus beautiful community gathering space and landscaping, passive stormwater management. You know it gets really low over there, so tying into the drainage at Katherine Johnston Park. And then what you see here is directly across from Katherine Johnston Park. This is 2.1 acres that we assembled over the course of 5 years. It was 14 different lots that we had to go out and buy, 4 buildings that had to be demolished. Soil remediation has been done, and we're going to put on that 54 units of 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments and 6 single-family homes, and we'll be starting that later this year too. And then finally here we have the Carnegie Library. I'm sure many of you know this building. Carnegie Library sits on the same block as the English Avenue School. It was built in 1922. We purchased it in late 2024. We've done some initial demo work for it. It's an absolutely beautiful little jewel box of a building. I'm really excited to bring that online this year with a tenant who wants to welcome the community into the space, celebrate arts, and really bring that building back to life. And then we should also mention our headquarters, 970 Jefferson Street. In addition to being Westside Future Fund's home, is also home to many, many other nonprofits, some of which I see in the room today. Foodwell Alliance, the Atlanta Beltline Partnership, Atlanta Mission, Community Farmers Markets, Georgia Peach Truck, The Giving Kitchen, Hands On Atlanta, Rataza, PCs for People, Second Helpings, Tropical Express, wonderful purveyor of plants. And we also use an Urban Recipe. We also activate the parking lot for our annual Ride for the West Side and really seek to ask people to come in and really experience all of the energy that goes on at 970 Jefferson.
Yeah, and this is a real legacy building. This was where many, many years ago, Bill Bowling started the Atlantic Community Food Bank before they expanded to a building across the street. Now, of course, they're in College Park. One thing, and Bill's been a real mentor to me, but one of the things he constantly reminded me is he got into the food business to build community. And that this building, for him, had always been a way to build community by bringing people together, but certainly serving a community. So we really honor that legacy. And we have, so many great partners. And next, I'm gonna shift to how we put the fund in the Westside Future Fund.
Yeah.
And what you're looking at. And you heard Rachel say earlier, when we bought a lot of land, we said, okay, now we know how much it costs to develop. If we want to kind of make it affordable, how much philanthropy are we going to need to close that gap? And that's where we priced out $55 million philanthropy. We knew we could apply to the Westside TAD, which is at 10 million, and then our impact fund, which is 10 Atlanta corporations that provide low-cost capital to the Westside Future Fund. They want their money back, but they don't want to make any money on their money. So that's where you see pulling down. And so, John, talk about where we are, and we're very excited. So please.
Yeah, I would be remiss if I don't shout out these 2 incredible ladies up here. This pipeline of absolutely, this pipeline of single-family and multi-family development in our community. It's incredible. This type of investment in the community is really inspiring. And I think the framing that's really important for everyone to be reminded of in this work is that, we know it in our own personal lives of rents are high. The cost of owning a home is higher than it's ever been. So, you approach that knowing that in that framing, but then imagine the reality of trying to create permanently affordable housing, both on the rental as well as the single family space. You saw those stories about selling homes for at cost and then also adding down payment assistance on top of that. So you put all that into perspective, and this work is very expensive. So, as the money man, I'm proud to ask people to support this mission, and proud of these numbers, as impactful as they are, because this work is obviously making a difference in communities. So I say all that to say that, in the midst of our $55 million campaign, we are having great success continuing this pipeline that we're working on. And I'm happy to share that in 2025, nearly $9 million was raised towards this $55 million goal. And I think that's really exciting. Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. And of course, all of that funding goes towards helping us to continue to build on this pipeline. These next couple of slides really highlight donors of all types, donors from individual donors from all parts of the city, corporations from all industries that you would imagine are important to this community. You see ones where you represent, but also ones where you patronize. And I think that's something that's, as an Atlantan, born and bred, I'm proud to see this list of Atlanta companies leaning in this work and investing in this important community. So again, just wanted to highlight that, but also our individual donors, many of which are in the room. We just thank you for really investing in this work. It's really important, and without the philanthropy, it would be impossible to keep these prices the way that they are and make it affordable for people to live in this community. So again, I just want to thank you guys that are supporters in this room. And if you're not, it's not too late. But moving forward, I want to also highlight, the incredible give back that is a part of our work. Just big shout out to a couple of our staff members, really. Ray Kell, our director of volunteer programs in the back. Yeah, raise your hand if you've ever volunteered at one of our events before, one of our volunteer events. Yeah, awesome. I love that. I would love going forward to see 100% of this room with hands raised, because that's just as important, if not more important, than this financial investment that we're making back into the community, because it's really important. So volunteerism has always been an important part of our work. Just some numbers from this past year to highlight. Next slide. Over 1,000 volunteers, 61 events, 32 corporate and civic events or organizations engaged through those events. But I think what's really powerful, many of you who are living in these communities know this, but unfortunately, communities like this deal with dumping quite a bit, deal with people from outside of the community coming in and dropping off tons of trash, tires, trash bags, whatever it is. They just drop it on a corner because nobody's paying attention. Nobody's walking there, and that's unacceptable. But we're so blessed to have volunteers like yourselves, but also youth and churches, whoever, that come in and help us remove these tons and tons of trash, 132 tons to be specific this past year, so that's powerful. And then the last two are my favorite. We do a holiday wishes program where we remove those barriers for families to make their Christmas wishes happen for children within the Booker T. Washington cluster. So over 300 students supported by that program. And then during Thanksgiving, thanks to a partnership with Hudson Grill, we delivered Thanksgiving meals to over 235 households. Now, mind you, again, that's not one or two people in these households. That's 4 or 5 people in these households. So that's 1,500 something meals in that Thanksgiving meal delivery program. So that's really exciting. Next slide. Yeah, absolutely. Again, big shout out to our corporate volunteerism, companies, which of course are in the room, of not only donating from a philanthropic space, but donating their time and their service. So it's really important. We're so thankful for this group of corporate volunteers, but also this group of civic volunteers that have volunteered alongside us on the next slide. Just, from the school district, from the schools within our district to the schools within the AU Center to our churches, we're so blessed to have everyone really investing in this work and really, spending time giving back just as much as they give financially. The next slide, one of my favorites. Raise your hand if you went to Ride for the Westside this past year or ever in the past. Again, y'all, we got to get 100% of this room at Ride for the Westside. Listen, if you aren't familiar, it is a 5K run, walk, and then a bike, historical race where it's not just, you're running and you're giving back to the community, but you're also learning about the community that you're experiencing. So it's really powerful, I think, a unique approach to one of those 5K types of experience where you're learning the history that this community is known for. Last year, our largest one to date, 574 people attended. So next year we're gonna have, what's that math? 720, because there's 150 people in here, but 289 runners, 208 walkers, 77 cyclists. It's amazing time where people come out and we have a great time, but we'd love to have you join us this year, last Saturday in September for Ride for the West Side. So it's a great event, really huge success, and of course, shout out to our sponsors, including our title sponsor, Chick-fil-A, same sponsor of this event with the breakfast. But also, big shout out, raise your hand if you were at our MLK Day of Service last month. If you volunteered. All right, guys, there's a frame here. We gotta work on this. We'd love for you guys to join us for our MLK Day of Service next year, on MLK Day. But this was an incredible event, over 1,500 volunteers served at 14 program sites and made a huge difference, working at a number of places, including all 5 of our Booker T. Washington schools, and Katherine Johnson Park. Yes, I love it. So many areas were served. Students from the Lovett School or, Clark Atlanta had 250 people show up, y'all. It was incredible. But this MLK Day service, of course, that framing of a day on and not a day off was in real effect. It was cold, y'all, but people still had smiles on their faces and they were doing incredible things like removing trash and painting murals at schools. So we'd love for you to be engaged in that next year. And it would make a huge difference to the community. So,
all right, and team, I'm gonna shift a little bit because I'm mindful of the clock, and I want to make sure there's time for Q&A. So we're not going to get through all the slides, but what I'll just quickly kick through, and we want to show you how our down payment assistance works. We want to make sure you're aware. We have, I think our target this year is 25 homes coming online, and so what I'm going to blast through is just and right in the nodes that Rachel discussed, especially the James P. Brawley corridor node. And then the other home on the west side. And that's our gift card. But, on the clock, want to be really mindful that folks might have some questions. So we can take a few minutes for questions. We always try to end right around 9, so that's when you hear me kind of adjusting our program a little bit. But if you have a question, please raise your hand. We'd love to take it. You can direct it to anyone on the panel. I see a question way down on the left, my left. So permanently affordable, I guess that would be the land trust.
Sure. So just to address your question for both rental and for sale, on the rental side, one of the things that can drive a property out of being affordable is economic pressure. So there's a couple of ways we can combat that. One is we get grants from the public, and in exchange for those grant monies, we sign land use restrictive agreements that are recorded on the property that ensure that those properties remain affordable at those rent levels for a period of 30 years. But over and above that, as a nonprofit, having those properties under our stewardship, having them financed conservatively, having that philanthropy in there that takes away the pressure to get a lot of bank debt that might be more expensive than the property can hold, that's how we are able to have these properties as being permanently affordable. The rentals, yeah. On the for sale side, we have a number of properties that actually participate with the Atlanta Land Trust. When we get a single family property from Invest Atlanta and we develop that property, we source the buyer from our community retention pool, and then we sell the home to that person, and the land actually goes into the land trust that's permanently affordable. But many homes that we sell are actually just fee simple, and those kind of go with the purchaser of the home.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And we should say on our down payment assistance, it's earned in a way, because if you leave within the first 5 years, you have to pay us back our down payment assistance, and then it amortizes at 20% a year for the next 5. So if you're remaining in the home for the full 10, you can, it's forgiven, but there is a component of being in the neighborhood for at least 10 years. Mm-hmm. Great question. Next question. Another question? Wow, it's usually more questions.
Okay.
All right, yes, sir.
This lady first.
It's a great question, isn't it? Yeah.
Do you want me to take it?
No, please.
So Westside Future Fund set out some goals in 2017. Our goal that we have been working toward before the campaign and that will be accomplished when we get to the end of this campaign is to create or finance 800 units of rental housing at 60% AMI or less. A lot of that we do through our own development efforts through those properties that I was just showing you earlier. And then also through making loans from our impact fund to come up with the rest of them. So we're really working toward that number. And then in terms of the single family homes, we had a goal set in 2017 of 250 single family homes built in the neighborhood to help that repopulation effort. So those are the numbers that we have been building toward.
Maria Saporta. I feel like a broken record here asking this question. Can you please talk about some of the historic preservation opportunities, challenges that exist? Obviously Pascal's, Gaines Hall, but also the English Avenue School. What can be done? These are really major properties that could have an amazing impact on the whole West Side, but unfortunately, they seem stagnant and worse, deteriorating.
Yeah, no, great question, and it's a, of course, your heart wants to see all these historic structures fully restored and reused, no doubt. Challenge is, control and money. And so in one example, we can give you with the Westside Future Fund, 220 Sunset, which is right next to the Dr. King family home. We just got on the team, did a great job. We just got on the National Historic Register because that's the childhood home of our first Atlanta mayor, Maynard Jackson, whose mother, Prince Spelman professor, desegregated the Fulton County Public Library system. We bought that multifamily with a demolition permit on it for $250,000. To fully restore it, thanks to philanthropy, I think the Arthur Blank Family Foundation, the West Side TAD and others, the full-on for 5 units is over $3 million. So that's over, my math brain just went off, but it's 5 into 30 is what, 600?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So it's doable, but you take some of the other structures that Gaines Hall restoring is absolutely doable, but the amount of money it would take, so you either need a public financing source that says we'll underwrite it, or you need a philanthropist. The challenge is that in order for someone to put debt money into that, the kind of money you would have to make to recoup it. So that then becomes, if you have a historic structure in a vibrant place where people are going to use it, then, but others, in the case of the English Avenue School, and that's now controlled by a private landowner. I would invite you to talk to him about his visions for the property and what he would intend to do. As Rachel said, where we can lean in, Maria, to your question, we try to do what we can, but part of the challenge is just the financing that it takes and where you can go find the money to do it. But we know you've been an incredible advocate for this throughout your life, and a lot of structures remain in Atlanta thanks to your voice. So thank you. I think I see.
Or over here.
Over here, okay.
I got you.
Yes. I want to ask, in addition to the great work that you're doing, on the wall at the office, at your office, you have the demographics of the neighborhood when you started, age, income, and the like. What and how has the needle moved since then? And the next question is related to underperforming or underutilized major assets within the community. I'll start with Pascal. They built 10 hotels around, and Pascal still at a standstill. There's Bumstead Dormitory at Atlanta University, vacant. There is a major asset, a soccer stadium belonging to Atlanta University, which I'm part of, the Atlanta University family, Vine City community, and the city of Atlanta. What needs to happen? What conversation needs to be had to get it off the dime?
Well, Tillman counted on you to ask a big question. Great question. Tillman is a lifelong Vine City resident, so he always has a great story to share about the history of the neighborhoods. So one is make sure it attracts, because some of you ask great questions, but from Westside Future Fund perspective, take the case of the old Morris Brown Stadium. Of course, we would all love, I live down in Sunset, would love to see that redeveloped and how that could be reactivated, but that's an asset owned by Clark Atlanta University. As you know, they've got their own ideas and plans about how they want to see that site reactivated. So from a Westside Future Fund perspective, I wouldn't want to, it's really a better question for the president of Clark Atlanta University, since that's and the other one, remind me, you had one other part of your question, make sure. Well, I don't, do any of y'all have that? I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head.
In my head.
Okay.
Not in my head.
We can follow up. It's a great census question. And maybe embedded in your question, actually the Blank Family Foundation recently sponsored a forum really doing this. What the data says is if you're lower wage and want to move up to higher wage, proximity to a mixed income community is a huge determinant. And so part of, I don't know if it was in your question, is you want to have a wide range of mixed incomes, because often for folks that want to move up, the best thing to do is to be in proximate to a mixed income community. So we're trying to be very mindful. You can see in our own program is really embedding that deep affordability, but especially if we go down the road, you're going to have more and more, market rate too, so you can kind of land on that mixed income community. We can follow up on the census more, the numbers that you asked about. I'm sorry, we don't. Okay, I think maybe we have time for one more question. We don't have time for any more questions? Well, he's had his, let me just do this because you've seen, okay.
I would say.
Well, first of all, I wanted to question, and first of all, I know it's hard, a lot of hard questions are asked that you guys don't necessarily have the power to do it. So, great work, and shout out to Tameka. That was touching. I just want to bring that up, but we take that with us home. To know how things scale. When did Westside Future Fund actually start? Because then we can see how much work has been done and really have an optimistic future, how that can scale. When did it actually start?
Yeah, no, I actually ran a group that launched the Westside, or an executive director of a group that launched Westside Future and called the Atlantic Committee for Progress. It was launched at the end of 2014, but when it was launched, it was just a press release. There was no corporate entity. An initial board was announced, and then in 2015, the board was, basically operationalized. So that's why we consider 2015 our founding year, because that's when the corporate papers were filed, the 501c3 designation. So 10 years.
Look at the next 10 years.
And we're very excited, and we're excited about it, and a huge shout out to the team about all the amazing work. Yeah, thank you. And one thing that's very challenging, one of my learnings, because when you move around the neighborhood, your heart says, go fast. How do you go faster? But part of the challenge is to bake in some of this deep affordability, you got to go slow first. And ensure that if you're not pushing people out, because if you start going fast, that might be what happened. So to your point, we're picking up a lot of momentum. We're really excited about it. And knowing I'm going to, want to be mindful of the clock and lane, because I know it's just about 9 o'clock. As we end the program, I don't think we'll have time for the drawings. But unless we can do really quick, the Home Depot gift card and the Goodwill, but do them really fast. Yeah. Bring up the numbers. We can do the Goodwill, gift card, and the Home Depot.
Awesome. Just real quick knowledge for everybody on this Home Depot gift card. Thanks to Home Depot's generosity, this is now a $50 Home Depot gift card. Yeah, I know, right? That's the reaction I was looking for. All right. I'm reading all 6 numbers. 419 498. 419 498. Going once. Going twice. All right, next. 419 521. 419 521. Oh, let's go. There it is. All right. All right, this is for the Goodwill gift card. 212-0327. All the way in the back with the hat. Yeah, awesome. All right.
All right.
All right. Thank you. So what I want to be real mindful really quickly, it's a huge team effort. So if y'all would just acknowledge for a second, if you're on the Westside Future Fund, our team, raise your hand so people can see they're all, and I look down and I see 2 board members, so we thank our volunteer board members, our Chair Dallas Smith, Sylvia Russell, our Vice Chair, thank you. Thank you for giving us an opportunity. It would be great to stick around and answer more questions, but thank you for being here today, and thanks to y'all for your great job. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, everyone.